They're just edits. One's on page 4. Let's see.
Reading.
Fourth paragraph from the bottom, breeding. Yeah, breeding. And then on the next page on 5, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph from the bottom. Second line, current plans do not contain.
Okay.
And then the last paragraph, Mrs. Bell indicated that the only thing, second sentence, they do not intend to house any males.
Just take the A out.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think on page 2, the
Yep, that's what I had.
6th paragraph up, it probably should be greater and granted.
Correct.
Okay, may I have a motion with those corrections, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Broom?
Mr. Broom, are you muted?
Nope. Is there-
Yes.
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Deacon?
Yes.
Mrs. Sogg?
Yes.
Mr. Steinbrink?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Next on our agenda is adjourn the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and convene a meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mrs. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Deacon?
Yes.
Mrs. Sogg?
Yes.
Mr. Steinbrink?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Sport Court rear yard setback variance request for the Peter residence located at 941 Chestnut Run. I think Tom Peter is here
Yes.
to present what might be new from the last meeting.
Trying to get my video working. For some reason, it's not.
You need to turn up your volume also, please.
All right, is this any better on the volume side?
Not that great.
All right, let me try something here. How about that?
Turn it up, please.
Pardon me?
Higher.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
All right, I will come in on a voice line then, because I can't get my computer to go any higher. Let me just jump on a voice line real quick here. I'll just dial it in.
Nancy, just to remind folks, Scott and I are members of the Land Conservancy, so we can't participate.
And Todd, I guess I wanted to ask you whether there's any precedent for any kind of fine to be issued in this kind of situation where this court was put down without prior permission of and no variance. I know that I talked to Dave this afternoon and he said we've made people take down a barn and rebuild it because it was larger than the previous barn.
We always have the opportunity or the right to prosecute for violations of our code requirements. Whether we've done that in the past or not done it, I don't believe makes any legal difference or sets any precedent. Of course, that is a decision that's made independently by the prosecutor.
So we would have to go through some kind of prosecution in order to do
That
that.
we would have to take the violation to the prosecutor and he would determine whether to prosecute. And just to add on to what Ms. Turner just said, Ms. Turner and Mr. Room did recuse themselves from this case last month, and that continues on into this evening's hearing of the case.
Okay, this sounds kind of crazy.
You have not entered any numbers. Goodbye.
Oh, we're having trouble. Just try to speak into that.
There's nothing else to speak in. I'm sorry, I'm having real problems with the Zoom on the dial-in.
Your meeting ID followed by
Hang
pound.
up and dial in again.
We want to rotate the order until he,
Yeah, that,
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the side yard setback variance request for the Horvitz residence at 1709 Berkshire Road. Al Klaus is here, and I guess Matt Horvitz is here as well. So let's proceed.
Thank you. I am Al, and I'm with Tony Paskovich's office. Dave, are you putting things up on the screen?
No, they have it in their hands. They have everything you gave
We
me.
have everything.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. Go to the pictures first. Everyone has them there?
Yes,
Okay, you'll see the first picture is the front of the house. It has a courtyard to it. I apologize, I don't know what order you have these in.
Whatever you gave them to me in.
Okay, I probably have shuffled them.
it's visible from Berkshire Road. We're familiar with it, I believe.
Okay, then I have a picture of the rear of the home, and then I have a picture of the side of the home where we want to do the addition.
we have them all.
Okay, good. And then if you go to the drawings, and you go to A1, this is the site plan for this house and where we want to do the addition. All the red marks that you see there are are the calculations we did with Dave's help, and how we came up with the 47-foot side yard setback, which, based on what we're trying to do, would then require a 10-foot variance next to the, I'm hoping I pronounced this right, the water residence.
Correct.
Okay, and you also have in your packet, besides my letter of explanation, which I hope you've had a chance to read, I enclosed a email. Matt Horvitz had reviewed the drawings with the neighbor, and he went to, they then wrote an email indicating that that they're fine with our variance request. Everyone has that?
Yes,
Okay. If you go to the next page, A2, this is a partial plan of the house. And what we're doing is, there was an existing hallway there that was used as an entry hallway into the back of the house. And it is now kind of used as a mudroom, but it's very insufficient for this growing family with 2 little kids right now. So we added on to that, and if you look on the one picture with the side of the house, you can see that, hold on, I apologize. Oh, I lost the picture. I had it here. Oh, huh. But there's another picture there which shows the existing 3 garage doors. Everyone sees that?
mhm,
All right, we're going to be adding to the left of the garage doors and that arched opening there. That's the rear door and where we're going to be coming into the new mudroom from there. And if you look at A2, you can see we're going into the mudroom. We have a open area hall, a passageway through so they can get to their backyard from the driveway, and then the 2-car garage. The whole hillside slopes downward toward the all-weather water residence. And that's why we put that passageway through there, because we really can't go around the side of the garage. The A3 shows the second floor plan. This is a 2-story building. A4 shows you the view from the front of the house. And just as a side note, we already took this to the Architectural Board of Review, and received a preliminary approval from them. And then A5 shows you the side. This is the side of the garage, which is visible to the neighbor, and also is where we have that 10-foot of variance that's needed to do this. And then A6 shows the rear of the home. You can start to see the slope a little bit going next to the neighbors. And again, this has been reviewed and preliminary approved by the Architectural Review Board. As I mentioned in my letter, when we designed this home for the Paces, they were an older couple, retired, had no children living with them, and had no need for any more of the garages than they have now. However, the Orbitzes are a growing family, had 2 kids now. They're already cramped for rooms in their existing garages. And that was the reason for the added garages and the mudroom, so they could have some lockers and changing room space.
So Al, help us out here. Why can't you put it somewhere else?
Well, if you go to the site plan, and you face it so that you're facing the front of the house, you're looking at the front of the house, and then you look at the picture, there is no place else to put it other than adding it to the front of the house and just totally ruining the architecture of the home and the property. This was a house that we won a award for, and we're trying to keep it so that it looks like it's always been there, even with the addition.
So in other words, it would diminish the value of the house, would it not, if you had to move it somewhere else?
It certainly would.
Thank you. Questions and comments from the commission? Matt, was there anything you wanted to add?
I think Al laid it out pretty well for us. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Matt.
Scott?
Al, roughly what's the grade there?
We're getting a survey done of that, but if you're standing on the driveway and you're looking down you'll be looking down toward the all-weather residence. It's about an 8-foot drop, 8 to 10-foot drop, and it pitches obviously downward. There is good screening there now, and Mr. Orbitz is going to add some additional screening.
Yeah. Todd, can we make a requirement that Matt have more kids in order to do? Only kidding, Matt.
Oh, that was mean.
6 more kids, you're in. No. Okay. All right. We have a proposal for request for area variance for 1709 Berkshire Road. The applicants are the Horvitz family. So we have the things we have to go over in order to establish this. So the property in question will or will not yield a reasonable return, and there can or cannot be a beneficial use of the property without the variance because, well, certainly there can be a beneficial use of the property. As Alice pointed out, we have an award-winning house on the property right now. But the occupants are looking to expand their space for their family, and to do this addition in any other place on the property would diminish the value of the property. The variance is substantial or insubstantial. So here we have a 10-foot variance on the side yard calculation, which requires that 40% of the property be used as side yard. So we need a 10-foot variance from a required 47-foot variance. And the structure only intrudes into the side yard at its apex. The way it's situated, the variance would be less as it went along, coming down to it looks like about 2 or 3 feet. Plus the minimum side yard setback for a 5-acre lot now is 40 feet in combination with the 40% formula. So really it's pretty close. It definitely does intrude, but I would say that it's an insubstantial variance. The essential character of the neighborhood would or would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would or would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. So this is an area of some large homes, some small homes. Many of the homes were existing there and were built under the old standards, which required a 25-foot setback. And so this would not affect the character of the area. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The applicant definitely purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions. Number 6, the applicant's predicament feasibly can or cannot be resolved through some other method other than a variance. So here, to do the addition in any other way, we've had testimony that it would diminish the value of the house rather than enhance the value of the house. Spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would or would not be observed. I've got to say, I think this is a close one, Al. But given the way the house is situated on the lot, the way the house is designed on the lot, and the way that the lot falls, there really is no other place to put an addition on. Theoretically, you might be able to slide it closer to the house, but then you're going to be missing the mudroom, which is one of the things that is apparently most desired by the resident. Feasibly, there's really no other way to add a garage and the mudroom without the variance. Again, I say I think this one's close, Al. But
Can I just interrupt for one quick minute here? I didn't mention, I think I did mention it in my letter if everyone read it. With the original setbacks when this property was designed and built, it was 25 feet. And we would have been able to not need a variance if Gates Mills had not changed their code.
right. But not since the Horvitzes have owned it, though. That was
Correct.
subsequent, right? So based on the fact that feasibly they cannot tackle this project without the variance, I would move approval of a 10-foot side yard setback variance. Oh, and also based on the fact that the neighbors were specifically contacted and the neighbor does not have any objection to this, I would move approval of a 10-foot side yard setback for 1709 Berkshire Road, to build the structure as shown in the plans submitted with the variance request.
Second.
Biggert,
Mr. Broom,
Yes.
Mrs. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Deacon,
yes,
Mrs. Aug,
yes.
Mr. Steinbrink,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner.
Yes.
Go forth.
Thank you, Al.
very much. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks, Matt.
How are we doing with Tom Peter? Is he?
I think he is back.
I would suggest you go with the other one for Al, since it's him, and
Okay. Well,
I'm here. I'm
okay.
waiting. It says it's for you to let me in to get audio or video. You'd have to let me in the meeting. I don't know how that works, but it's saying the host can let me in.
I had it. It wasn't. There you are. Okay.
We can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. We'll just hold on. All right, let's see. There we go. Is this better now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Oh,
Okay, perfect.
all right.
All right.
Now we
Now
actually
we
have
have
video.
the video.
No.
Perfect. All right. Sorry for all the delay.
You are muted.
Just to turn off the other one.
All right, hold on.
Just hang that one.
There we go. How's that?
Have an echo.
There it is.
You gotta unmute there.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, he's good. We hear him. We
Yep.
see him.
He's good.
Let me just.
Good.
Don't do anything.
Oh,
Don't
we're okay.
touch-
We're good. We're
Don't touch
okay.
anything.
I can't tell.
We
Don't-
hear you.
Don't do anything. Stop.
They're
Stop what
muted.
you're doing.
There we go. I'm back.
Oh.
We're back.
Yes.
Sorry. All right, now we can hear you. We couldn't hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
us all right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Apologize for that snafu. I'd like to start by apologizing for being so poorly prepared for the meeting last time. And I'd like to move forward. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present. As you know, we're requesting a 35-foot variance to the 40-foot setback requirement for a pickleball court. Briefly, before going forward, I'd like to give you the backgrounds of our history with the property. This is our fourth summer. We moved into the property. It needed a tremendous amount of tender loving care. There are a number of issues, including dead, dying trees, serious water flow issues, especially with the back and side yards, due to the downward sloping ground, the hard pan, and the fact that our land was covered with rocks and boulders, resulted in major runoffs. We concentrated our efforts in the first couple of years to the front yard. We removed many dead and dying trees. We added a drainage system to the back of the house and planted over 27 trees to help beautify and absorb some of the excess waters. At the end of this year, we embarked on a large plan. That's the plan that you have in front of you there, to further deal with some of our water issues as well as beautify the property. When you look at the plan, it does, unfortunately does not include all of the plantings on it. On page 6 in your package, there is a complete listing of all the plants and shrubs that are being planted. The main reason for showing the drawing is to give you an idea of where the pickleball court is located, and the limestone about that a little later. Also, in pages 2 through 5 of your package, I included some photos of the actual project as it stands right now. And you can see all these paths, all the rocks on the paths, the boulders on the water feature, all came from the property. Gives you an idea of the extent of the rocks and things that were there. At the meeting, last meeting, the commission brought up a number of issues that I'd like to discuss. One of them was the fact that we were placing hard path or replacing ground with a court. We've done a number of things to mitigate any possible damage that would cause as far as water runoff and the like. Here's some of the steps. First, the court is built on a 3-inch slope from back to front. so water flows down from the court onto our property. You can see there's a drawing on page 7 that shows the existing drains, some new ones we put in and some that we intend to put in to help deal with the issues. In addition to these drains, you can see the gardens that we've built. We're planting 1,560 plant shrubs and trees that are going to absorb a great deal of water. One of the drains particular to the pickleball court runs through the pickleball court, and as you see, connects to our rock swale drainage system. One of the other concerns that the commission had was actual construction materials. It shows a cross section of the court showing it's 6 inches of tampered stone with 4 inches of concrete poured on top of it. Finally, it was brought to our attention we needed to have approval for the landscaping plan. And speaking with, the best thing to do was to plant arborvitaes around the court. And the overall plan for the project. As far as the pickleball court itself, at the last meeting, it was very purposeful location. It was a natural clearing and probably the only relatively flat area on the property. Hence, it caused the least amount of disturbance of the land and allowed us not to lose any mature trees. It also is an area farthest away from our neighbors' homes, so it's not to disturb them. On the plat drawing, you can see I've drawn the pickleball court in, and you can see, as we previously discussed, it's 12 feet at one corner, 5 feet at another, and approximately 8 and 1 inches from the center of the court, which is obviously the reason we're asking for the variance. I've included a couple of pictures looking at different directions, east, west, north, south, from the court, so you can get an idea of what it looks like and what the view is. Another question that was asked specifically by the commission was the possibility of moving the court. Looking at it, the only possible spot that we found that we'd be able to comply with the setback regulation was to move the court forward. The dotted line on the drawing shows where the court would have moved it forward to comply with the setback rules. On the drawing in red, you'll see I've noted where there are 5 mature trees that would have to come down. They range in circumference anywhere from 64 inches to 163 inches and are beautiful trees. This site would also steepen the grade materially and require extensive excavation and building of a retaining wall. It also would move the court closer to our neighbors. Given the destruction of the nature and the excessive cost, this is not a good option. I'd like to address some of the current concerns that were brought up by the Gates Mills Land Conservancy. From what I can gather, one of their primary concerns was the possible changes to water flow on their land and hence causing damage to their property. Here's some of the mitigating factors that I believe demonstrate there will be no damage done. As I earlier mentioned, the court slopes from front to back, so the water coming across the court will come down on our property. We've installed the drain under the pickleball court that will pick up any water that might build up and push it underneath the court into the drainage system. We also did a laser analysis of the land, and if you go back 25 feet from the property line up into the conservatory's land, there's a grade of approximately 2 feet. It's actually 1 foot 9.5 inches. If you go back another feet, it's another 2 feet. So 50 feet from in their property to the property line is a 4-foot slope. In addition to that, 1 to 2 feet from the property line down to the pickleball court of additional slope. Given the fact that water runs downhill, it's clear I don't think there'd be any change in the water flow on their property. Also, Marino Landscaping, who's the contractor on this job, is prepared to meet with anyone from representatives from the Land Conservancy to make sure that any issues from the construction of this process are corrected to their satisfaction. The other item is, as we noted in the landscape plan and part of the screening and landscaping of the court, we'll be planting an Arborvitae hedge very close to the property line that will protect the property, cutting off, making it so that people, pickleballs and anything else will not be able to enter their property, thereby leaving it undisturbed and natural. Hopefully this information gives the conservancy some comfort in knowing that their land won't be impacted. In fact, it'll be protected from intrusions from our side of the property line. In closing, we built a pickleball court. The actual use of that court is going to be somewhere 2 to 4 hours a week for 4 to 5 months. We placed it in a spot where we tried to disturb the land as little as possible. And we made sure not to damage any of our neighbors' property. And in fact, in some cases, we've actually protected that. We spent a great deal of time and money to improve our property and are trying very hard to be good stewards of land. And I guess when I look at the way courts oftentimes look at things, rather than looking at the letter of the law, they look at the intent of the law. And it's my opinion or belief that the intent of this law would be to keep someone from building a home, a barn, or a court too close to a neighbor or to a public road that could cause damage to visual, noise, or property damage, or even safety issues, or something that would cause a look to be inconsistent with the feel of the community. If you look at the pictures that were to come to the home, I think you'll see that this court is something that from my neighbor's home on the south and the north,
Make sure I'm on mute.
the property, you can't see the court. And the neighbor to the north being the land conservatory, there's not a home there to disturb. But if you look on that property, it's well over 100 feet to a driveway that bisects their land. So I don't think there'll be any eyesore, and I hope I've demonstrated that there will be no damage to the land. That's and lastly, the moving the court, I think would cause a tremendous destruction to our trees and to our land and excavation. So if we can't settle on having it here, I think the only answer will be to actually break it up and destroy it, and then figure out how to repurpose the land. So given all those factors, I'm asking the board to grant the variance. And I answer any and all of your questions.
I can't hear them.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
The commission have questions, comments?
Yeah, just a few things, Tom. First of all, I think the work that's being done and the property is certainly substantial in terms of the time and effort that you've put into the beautification process of the property. I think one of the things that that I struggle with here is the variance itself being so substantial. And I think in the 6 or 7 years I've been involved with the Planning and Zoning Commission here, most of the variances tend to be like what you just saw before us, 8 or 10 feet off of 40 or 50 feet, and not being so close to the property line. And further down the road here, you are going to plant arborvitaes here, and you've got 2 rows here, and they grow big. So in 5, 7, 8 years, I would hate to see the Land Conservancy come in and say, listen, this is our property, and so we're going to go down here, and these are overhanging our property, and it's been staked, and it's been 7 or 8 years or 5 years, and you've got 2 rows of arborvitae here that grow. And the Land Conservancy was pretty vehement in their opposition, and I don't know that I can blame them. I would say if this was my property and somebody was putting a pickleball court effectively on the property line, where I know the ball is going to be bouncing potentially onto the property, people are going to be on the property back and forth. Who knows what happens after you've sold the house and there now are new owners there that maybe decide they want to turn it into a tennis court, and a variance has been granted. And so that's just where I struggle on this. And in fact, I know you've got this, 2 other comments. I know you've got this marked out here if it was slid further to the west, but you have those trees marked. But what if it was spun, rectangular? Instead of being just shifted left to right, it was actually spun on its axis so that it's left to right lengthwise versus being, north and south as a potential option. And then just for Chris, that shows a waterline easement. I don't know where that easement is servicing and what potential issues that brings up down the road, and maybe that having to be demolished or something happened to be moved to get at that waterline easement.
Yeah, Dave raised that to the resident and instructed them that they need to sort out what's going on with that easement. I don't know if they found anything out yet or not.
My understanding, I don't have a complete report, is that with that easement, the water people have the right to come through there at any point in time. So if they do, and it results in destruction of the court, that's on me. That's my problem. They have full access to it. But again, you all probably know much better than I do.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I am concerned about the waterline easement. We really need to look at the language because it may have a prohibition in it that I assume it's Cleveland Water, Chris, would say, no, you can't put anything there. I've had that happen in the past, so I think we need to take a look at that easement language.
Yeah, there may be a stipulation that you can't put any hard surfaces, etc. That sort of work in the easement.
This is Sandra. This is a different issue. This is not for the Land Conservancy, but we share a well with the Schmitz, and there is an easement for us under Sherman Road. Under Chestnut Run and through the old Rabin property to our home. So I don't know if this is part of that or it's a different easement.
Tom, do you have a survey that has all the easements or a?
It's on the plot plan. It has all the easements. It shows an
Well, we
easement
need a copy of the easements, the length.
of the actual document. No, I do not have.
Yeah, we need a copy of the recorded document that has the easement description.
Okay.
Jim, anything?
No, I think, as they mentioned, the easement is a concern. I guess we need to find that out before we can probably do a final vote here. Is that
Yeah, I
true?
think we're gonna have to put this off to another meeting. I also want to question the use of Arborvitae. I think there are quite a lot of deer on that property up at Sherman Road. And Arborvitae are like lunchbox for deer. So you might want to consider something that is deer proof.
Okay, and we're open to anything there. I mean, that was the initial. If there's a better suggestion and get 1 or 2 rows, whatever, we're happy to do whatever will work best, and we'll work with our landscaper as well.
Well, I would suggest maybe you talk to Vic down at Chagrin Valley Nursery and see what his suggestion would be.
Okay, thank you.
But we need, before you go any further on that, I think you need to get the easements to our law director and to our engineer and our service director so that we can take a look at those and see. Because we certainly don't want to move in a direction that would contravene what the easements say.
Right, yeah, and unfortunately, I just got that word when all offices were closed this weekend, so I couldn't get those. Where is the best place to get those? Can you guide me to the right place where they are filed?
They're filed in the recorder's office.
Yeah, you want to talk to the county recorder's office and ask for a copy of recorded easements on your particular property.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's now called the county fiscal officer.
Right, I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
Fiscal office.
Old school. So can I have a motion to table this, please?
I so move.
Second.
it.
Dave?
Mr. Broom,
Dane,
Mrs. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Deacon,
Yes.
Mrs. Sog,
Yes.
Mr. Steinbrink,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner,
She's gonna abstain.
She's recused. herself.
Abstain, recuse.
Okay, we'll put you off till the next meeting. I guess you'll be back again. Okay, next on our agenda is side yard setback variance request for the Hughes residence at 7640 Old Mill Road. Al, you're on again. Are you still with us?
This is Justin Davies. I think I'm actually going to take this one for the office.
That's great.
Hopefully.
While you were here, I wasn't sure what the plan was.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm sure Al is listening, making sure I'm doing okay. So my name is Justin Davies. I'm with Anthony Paskovich and Associates, and presenting tonight on behalf of Kathy Vey and Anthony Hughes, who are at 7640 Old Mill Road, which is the first house just north of the bridge, is the first driveway. So the house sits up above the river, kind of overlooking the bridge. So this first picture here is kind of coming up the driveway, and you can see it kind of goes up a large slope here, and the driveway wraps around the house. As you get up, so this is coming around the side of the house. And you can see the single garage in the background on the right-hand side here, which is what we're requesting as part of the variance. And if you continue up, this is kind of on the top of the property where the driveway really plateaus out. It's kind of a tight parking area right now for maneuvering because of the grading. And I think the last picture there will show you, well, that's the other side of the house. So you can see that the grading is pretty steep on that opposite side of the house. This is the existing one-car garage on the property. And it is an existing non-compliant structure. It's in pretty severe disrepair. So they currently do not have a garage parking area, which is in great need in the wintertime. So the proposed new plans, which I think you should have in front of you. Oh, and there's the rendering. Do you have the plans, Dave?
I didn't. They all have the plans.
Okay, so the print out.
Yeah, we've got it.
Okay. So if you look at the first sheet, the site plan 1, you'll see the existing home. In yellow, you'll see the addition that's being proposed by the Vey Hughes. These plans have been reviewed by the Historic Commission and the ABR for preliminary approval. So we are now kind of coming here to see if we can be granted this variance. And the intent of the variance is really to provide, they're looking to provide 3 garage parking spaces for their property. As you can see by some of the previous pictures, the grading is really steep along there, and the existing garage, detached garage, is really fallen into disrepair. So the proposed new addition actually sits on the same exact footprint as this existing garage. And because of the limited room and the steep grades along the edge of the property, we're trying to mitigate disturbing that any further and causing some financial burden on the project. So we are asking for a 12-foot 8-inch variance based on the existing structure setback.
Question?
And I can go into further detail about the proposed addition as well, if anyone would like to hear about it.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
So I do. Justin, so on the aerial picture here, I see that, so that 1-car garage, that separate detached one, that it's hard to tell. It looks like it's sitting where part of the new 3-car garage, but then also where this, I think you guys are calling it a shop, is on. So
Correct.
it's already over the 25-foot setback line.
It is beyond the 25-foot setback line. It actually, in this case, with the new code ordinances, a detached single garage is actually required to be 40 feet away. And as we're attaching it to the house, it is only required to be 25 feet away, is what I understand. So, what we're trying to do is attach it to the house and really ask for, a variance that's a little more accommodating to the neighbors. It really doesn't change the relationship to the neighbors' views, and try to avoid any further disturbance of the heavy grading along that property.
But so
it is existing non-compliant, right?
Right. And you could, theoretically, is because I think it says on here, using the existing foundation.
Well, I think the foundation will need to be replaced just due to its condition.
Okay.
But we would be using the same footprint. We wouldn't be intruding any further than the existing structure.
All right. So if you were to, and I don't mean to make Al spit out his drink or anything, or you, Justin, but if you were to use that existing building and just go through the trouble to rehabilitate it by connecting the rest of the addition, connecting it to it, you would really only need a tiny little, on my drawing, a little tiny corner, right? If you were to just attach that or incorporate that structure, is my point being is understanding that you want to build it the right way. But you could almost build the rest of the addition without the variance if you were gonna just incorporate that already non-conforming building.
You'd still need a variance for the shop part, though, would you not there?
Well, that's where that building is. That's right, Justin?
Turning it in.
Correct. So the existing garage has, used to be a shop in the back. So it has room for a car and a shop. So the intent was really retain that function as well on the new footprint in the addition.
Right, Jim, you see on the drawing, that shop part is this building here.
With the 2 windows.
Yeah. And
it's attached.
Right. Well, it will be attached after they're done with it if we grant this.
It's attached to the garage.
Right.
It's not a separate building.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, but I
And
think
will
he
be
means
attached to the house. Yeah.
Okay.
So the rendering, if you hit that rendering tab, I think that'll give you a better picture there. So we do want to create a mudroom space off of there. The existing house is a really kind of difficult problem because it's very disconnected. There's a service kitchen that's tucked down on the basement corner, and so kind of reconfiguring the floor plan proved to be quite challenging. So we really wanted to provide enough space for covered parking and also an entryway off of that driveway area that would lead into the new kind of family room, kitchen, living area as a centralized living space.
But on an area variance perspective, so the garage here, the new garage you have pictured here with the 2 in the little bell tower on it, that actually is going to be forward of the existing garage a little bit, right? If we're talking bringing it to I think that would go to the west maybe on this house, right? Goes north or to the east, I guess. My point being is that on your drawing, most of what is in the yellow over the line is already there. There's something
Correct.
already there.
Correct.
That's when I wanted to.
It's all already there, really. It's the same footprint. So
Okay.
the whole area that is over the setback is currently existing.
Okay.
So you're really not encroaching any more than the current one-car garage, which shop is right now.
Correct. Correct.
And so then is that going to be a terrace area behind that, the left, as we're looking at this screen here, the leftmost in the middle garage behind the other side, behind that?
I think the intent was just to have an entry off the back in order to get direct access into that shop area.
Okay.
So it may be a small landing and some steps down.
Any other comments or questions? Scott?
Okay, so this is a request for an area variance, a side yard setback variance located at 7640 Old Mill Road. The applicant are the Hughes family. And so the variance requested is
12 foot 8 inches.
12
12
feet
foot
8
8
inches. Yep, 12 feet 8 inches. And it's under the old standards because the lot is less than 5 acres and was established prior to 98, right, David?
Correct.
All right. And so the first question is, the property in question will or will not yield a reasonable return, and there can or cannot be a beneficial use of the property without the variance because. So there definitely can be a beneficial use of the property, although the house is rather small and has a one-car garage, which might be okay for some, but not for many in today's day and age. The variance is
How about
substantial.
the future?
Huh?
You don't know about the future.
I know. We'll only be allowed to have one. The variance is substantial or insubstantial because, so here, while the variance is a little bit more than half of the required 25-foot setback, there is already an existing detached garage that is non-conforming in that it is in the same place. And what the proposed addition is going to do is connect the house to that building. And while it's their intention to build a new building there, just so that they have something that is better construction and is not in disrepair, they could theoretically add on and incorporate that building into the existing house, and it's already there. So I would say that given the fact that we already have the non-conforming use, that the variance in this situation, while it's more than half of the area, it's insubstantial because there's already an encroaching building. Number 3, the essential character of the neighborhood would or would not be substantially altered. The adjoining properties would or would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance because, well, here, there's already an encroaching building. They're going to replace that with a better building and put this addition on that uses only the flat surfaces. Doesn't look like they're going to have to excavate any of the pretty substantial slope that this abuts against. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The applicant purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, although with knowledge that they had a building there that was encroaching. And so that probably weighs in their benefit. The applicant's predicament feasibly can or cannot be resolved through some other method other than a variance. given the layout of the house on the property and the slope of the property and where it's located, feasibly, there's really no other way to make an addition on here that would accommodate more cars and an additional living room. And finally, the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement would or would not be observed, substantial justice done or not done. In this instance, the spirit and the intent is to try to keep things the way they are in the village, to make sure that the village maintains its character. Here, where we've had a building that's probably been there long before the old system or the old rules or the new rules, this really wouldn't change anything, and it's probably going to improve this property. Accordingly, I would move that we approve a side setback variance of 12 feet 8 inches for the property located at 740 Old Mill Road.
I'll second it.
Mr. Broom,
So moved.
Yes.
Mrs. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Deacon,
Yes.
Mrs. Saug,
Yes.
Mr. Steinbrink,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner.
Yes.
Okay, Al, you can go back to your wine and
No.
we'll do ours.
You got to bring it up for everyone, Al.
So next time.
Thank you all very
bring it
much.
for
Thanks,
everyone.
Justin.
So we will convene
I
at our,
can't believe you saw that.
of course we do. Don't be silly.
Oh, sorry.
We can't drink because we're on the commission.
Nancy sees everything, Al.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that
I
might.
gotta
All
figure out how to
seeing,
work
all
this
knowing.
computer.
So we will meet in person at our next meeting, since there will be
Yes.
no restrictions based
Yes.
on the state of Ohio.
No
Right.
more wine.
I think we'll make a decision about whether, if people want to weigh in on it, whether you'd be more comfortable in the community house or in the council chambers. I leave it. If you have a view, then let Dave know. Otherwise, probably meet in the council chambers.
Good.
Would meet in the community house.
Well, I'd suggest you meet in the community house. Because we're not open in the town hall really yet.
Okay, that alcohol got to him.
Yeah.
All right, we'll let it get to all of you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Good night.
Thank you.